also with the participation of 3CPC and the Recreation Commission to say, wait a second, we ought to look at where there's pools, we ought to look at Ziegler and Hannah and the pool at the community center as well as the Washington Park pool, and say which ones can we continue operating in the future, where can we do spray grounds, where do we do a deep water tank.
But if it's not in the concept plan, then we can't have it in the future. We've got to put it in concept. And the Recreation Commission, the community didn't have a chance to comment on that. In that plan that they're passing, Ziegler Pool, we're going to lose it. It's going to become a spray ground. I don't think people know that in the room. I know, but then there's no water pool, and they're saying that we can be satisfied with the Lincoln Center pool. That's over a mile for most of our children to go, and to cross over Central Parkway where it's really, really busy. We just know things are possible if there's a will. And the whole neighborhood, there's been a survey, a whole bunch of people have signed support for the pool. If you don't have it as a concept, we're not going to be able to work together to figure that out. Children are here tonight that have used that pool, they want to see the pool, the basketball court is important, and we've respected your plan, but we've changed one little quadrant. And that's what we want as a neighborhood.
That's what we're here to talk about. I think the concept plan has done its job. It certainly generates some discussion, and I think we're just probably just a few slides away from actually opening it up. We just want to walk you through the plan step by step, and we certainly open up the floor to talk about the pool, talk about the basketball court. One other issue that came up when we talked to the other community council was how about the shelter? Adding a shelter on the picnic shelter. So again, we're here to gather comment. And we might find that many of you, if not most of you, are supportive of lots of things in the plan, but not supportive of other things. And want to keep the pool and put the pool somewhere else. We're here to talk about that.
So as Steve mentioned, we've got a few more slides to go through, and then we'll open it up for discussion.
We would like to see it.
Yes, we can talk about it.
Yeah, I think in any neighborhood in Cincinnati or in Hamilton County, people defend a swimming pool. That is, they see a swimming pool as very central to their neighborhood. People who are affluent pay $500 or $1,000 a year in order to have their kids in a private swim club. So, and why is that? It's because it's seen as a very important thing for kids that are, say, 8 to 18, for teenagers, for young people. This is a very beautiful park, and I commend many of the beautiful features you have in it. But it seems to me you have to say in a neighborhood, you want to have an anchor there for young people, for teenagers. A very important part is to give teenagers activities so they feel part of this community, so they can be there where their parents are in the park listening to a concert or having a rally about doing something in this community, or their parents, whatever they can be there with their parents in an area. Those are the kind of things that give kids a sense of attachment. A swimming pool is something I go so far. Kids do not learn to swim in a sprinkler. They do not learn to swim in the water. They do not learn how to compete in a swim team with other kids from around the city in that sprinkler system. They have to have an opportunity, and I think that the kids that do those things in that community with their neighbors and friends are kids who will stay in school, they'll do better in school, they will be stronger citizens here. And so it's thinking about the swimming pool is not just thinking about one little item as part of this. You're thinking about something that's integral to the community's notion of what makes a good community, what makes a good summer, what makes good students, and so on.
May wish to address it. The issue for the pool now, as we understand it, and the direction recreation is going, is not to remove pools from neighborhoods, but to at least to have a pool where it makes sense. And where it makes sense, the new pool plan and recreation is developed is to do them primarily at recreation centers, where there is staff, where they can engage the children who come to swim in other activities. That the dollars just aren't there to operate all the pools the city has. Have lifeguards, which you don't need at spray grounds. So what's proposed here is that what's now a pool in Washington Park would go to a spray ground. As I understand it, Ziegler Pool would go to a spray ground, as was done a few years ago up at Hannah, Army, very popular spray ground, zero-depth pool. But to keep one pool for the neighborhood that would be improved in the future at the existing recreation center. As this is built, that pool won't go away immediately. What's proposed is, again, it's an opportunity that when there are future funds available, as I understand it, to improve the pool at the rec center, that would be the single deep water pool, bigger and better than it is today. And at that time, the pool here would go to the spray. That's the concept for it because of how costly it is.
CRC already said they weren't going to run that pool. I promised.
That's the case.
I promised the young girl up here that she's next, but I just wanted to expand on what Steve said just for a second, okay? You know, kind of like the parking lot conversation that I mentioned earlier. I mean, I don't think you'll find anybody from the city staff that you talk to that isn't deeply committed to working with the community to meet the recreational needs of the community. And that's why I think there's a stepping back right now, a revisiting of the comprehensive plan, broader conversation about what are the recreational needs of the community and where are the best places to meet those. So nobody will argue the points that you made there. I think one of the long-term questions is the best place Washington Park? Does it fit here? Is it the best thing with this ensemble? You know, I'd like for you to think about that with as open mind as possible, because again, it's not inconceivable that we could have our cake and eat it too. So think about the long-term needs of the neighborhood broadly. Think about the long-term future of the park broadly, and give us your feedback on that. You know, maybe it doesn't have to come down to a choice. Maybe we can have both if we work together, but we can't have everything all on one site. So just think about that creatively and give us your thoughts on it. With that, I'll turn it over to this young lady and then we'll move on to the other parts of the room.
I think the idea is great and it is fun and it might be fun, but ever since we were living here in that part, getting there, and the first time I went, it was fun, and I think it's the same way it is because it's just fine like it is, and the only thing that it just needs is to be cleaned up, and it's fine like it is.
Okay, thank you. Saying something, yes.
I have a question. I noticed that in your plan, the interactive fountain is right next to, it's close to the dog park, and it's also close to a large green space. And my question is, have you ever thought about the safety issues associated with an interactive fountain? If it's for small children and kids to come play, of course they're going to be running around and it's going to be wet and they could fall or get hurt. And then the running in the grass that's next to the fountain, also if you're wet and running with wet feet into the grass, you're going to fall and get hurt. And I also noticed that the fountain is close to the dog park. And have you ever thought about what could happen if kids are running over and the interactive fountain from the interactive fountain to the dog park? How do you expect to address the safety issues?
Good questions. I think with the dog park, one of the things I did mention, we should have, as well as the playground, is that those areas would have a small fence around them. Particularly the dog park would have a small fence to be able to keep the dogs in there. And there wouldn't be that free flow interaction that you're talking about. The concerns about slippery surface, turning back and forth to the green, these sorts of things, those are viable concerns that would need to be considered on a very detailed basis about how we design the pavement, how we design the lawn, how we design the curb around the lawn. All those things are really worked out in the details and commonly done in urban parks. So it's not an insurmountable challenge, but it is one that we have to pay attention to in more detailed design.
It's been figured out long ago, so that's not particularly breaking new ground. And again, this is at a very conceptual level. The exact details, what does that look like? How's it going to be built? How high is the curb? We're not nearly at that point in design. I'm not sure.
Yeah, she had her hand up for a while. We'll try to move around and get everybody. We'll stay as long as you want to answer questions.
I'm the manager of the pool. And first of all, I would just like to say you can drown in the spray ground. And CRC, we're all trained to save people and do zero depth saves. So I know as lifeguards, we are all more comfortable with saving something in a pool than on a spray ground. We get so much more hurt. And it's a question of what pool or where a pool should be in Over the Rhine, it's definitely Washington Park. Over the Rhine is the heart of Cincinnati. Washington Park is where all the kids come, that's where all the kids go, that's their school, that's their home. They all feel like that's where their heart is. They all want. I had 10 kids call me up at 5 o'clock crying over the pool was being taken down because they saw that sign out there tonight. And if it's a question of budget and money, I know we said need a bigger pot of Cincinnati because Cincinnati backs us. Cincinnati would love a pool in Washington Park. I mean, I have 50 kids that maybe come every day, and I have up to 200 come every day sometimes, but those 50 kids come every single day. We know all their names. They're all great kids. We know how to do during this fiscal year, and they're the best kids you can find around. They're trying hard, and you take the pool away from them. Where are they going to swim? Where are they going to dive? You take the swim team away from, like, the Washington Park Sharks. That's our name.
Here. Yes, ma'am. Right here.
I'd like to know where you sourced your feedback that generated the statistic that the basketball court and the pool is favored below 50%. And if you know, how much did CPS sell that Locksley Park for?
Okay, I'll take the first question first. Simply that at each of the meetings, and I think we probably had 70 to 90 people at each of the first 2 meetings here.
The Washington Park meeting?
The Washington Park public meetings. We have a steering committee and Mary's here, a number of people here that each of those meetings when we discuss issues, we compile minutes, we actually count the number of dots where people make references. So those statistics, I don't want to get back on statistics, but that's just verbatim what we heard. As we talked to different interest groups up till tonight, those are the basic numbers.
Is that through the OTRCC? Because I know you've done a lot of presentations for them.
And yes, and certainly at the Over the Rhine Community Council, they expressed very much an interest in preserving the pool and preserving basketball and having things for young children to do, particularly. So we're taking in all that info. The second question.
Yes, the lot that got torn down.
Oh, they're going to give it to us.
For free?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Cincinnati's putting a great deal of effort into trying to get people to move into Over the Rhine, the 3CBC, the Gateway Quarter, turning all these old buildings into condos. And if you take the pool out of the oldest park in Cincinnati, doesn't that kind of send the message that the people that you want are the people who don't have kids? I mean, you tore down the school that was right here. Is it that you don't want people with kids, you only want old rich people? What
primarily what it is about is just facing the facts of the costs of operating pools, of maintaining pools, and recreation to step back and look at all the city pools. And a lot of neighborhoods that have fewer resources than you guys have here in terms of parks and spring grounds and swimming pools. And say, yes, there should be a deep water pool, and yes, there needs to be a place for children to learn to swim and to dive and have teams, but that the city can only afford so many. So the plan for recreation, we're just saying, well, there's an opportunity while we're doing a new plan for the park to understand where recreation is coming from. The plan is to concentrate those resources at a single deep water pool to serve the whole neighborhood. And yeah, there's one in Lincoln, but that's the West End. We're talking about the Hope Center. And at the same time, to make improvements to other sites, we would hope at the old SCPA, our park master plan is to have another park next to where SCPA is, the old SCPA. And again, to look at the entire neighborhood.
Take it out?
Excuse me?
Did you do a study on how much it will cost to not have it?
Part of the budget certainly, obviously, part of the budget is going to be what has to be demolished here, and that's the cost of the park, as well as what's put in.
No, I mean the cost of the community that did not be made. Did you do a study on that?
Social impact. Impact study.
We have not Recreation has made a determination about where they can afford to do pools in the future. Not tomorrow, not next year, but as they get the resources, again, concentrate on looking at the entire neighborhood. Not that every part of the neighborhood, that Pendleton has a pool, and Washington Park has a pool, and the area around Pendleton. It's the same issue that's going to be discussed in many neighborhoods throughout the city. It's a very tough issue.
Let's make sure we make our way around the room and have everybody. You've been very patient.
I had heard that with the parking lot, it will be a parking lot until May 31st, 2010. And at which point you're saying it'll come more to the park. I had heard that there's the option to renew, to keep it a parking lot.
They would have to petition, they have to go to zoning, there have to be public hearings. It is our intent that that becomes a park in 2010. And as I said, and the superintendent of schools has made a commitment to us that while she's still in office, she's here till June, that we'll come to an agreement. That will say that on such and such date, it will become park property.
But there's no guarantee.
As far as I'm concerned, we're getting to that guarantee. We've got a letter saying it will be, so we think that it's
So they're drawing up the terms of that agreement right now.
Wait. Part of this is that where the new school is owned by the park board. It was. I mean, excuse me, the SCPA, the new Eastern Metro. It was their land, it's perfect, and this was supposed to be traded for that. I mean, I've been to 14 different discussions about this.
I'm sorry, which side? Are you talking about the Washington Park School site?
I'm talking about the Washington Park School site and the new school, I call it Eastern Avenue, but it's not East, it's Kellogg. That's owned by two different organizations that are supposed to trade. I guess it's free, but again, it's not free because whatever group that was that owned that gave it up to the school.
Well, we're
not, everybody's acting like this, we're just throwing things away. And also, okay, I'm in favor of this, so I'm not trying to do it, but also I'd like to point out that Ziegler Park, they had a swimming pool there, and they wanted to make that into a pool that you could do everything that this gentleman where he hit, he was over there, was talking about. And the same people that are here objecting to taking this swimming pool out didn't want to do that to that pool, make that pool that way. And so we have now had change of mind.
We fought to make that improvements to that pool. We always wanted Ziegler Park.
You didn't. You were the one who was fighting.
No, it was money. We saved that park for families and improvements to that pool.
How dare you attribute any intention to my being here and having supposedly disapproved another pool? You do not have the authority to place that intention on every person in this room.
I didn't place
You did. You said all the people who are here.
I said some of the people.
Let's do one at a time. You can't be each at a time. On the issue of that property, part of the deal we did with Cincinnati Public Schools a number of years ago that had to do with this school building in the East End. Cincinnati Public will give us future land as trade. One of those sites identified was built somewhere. And so it should be quite that. And we're satisfied that will happen. Yes. Who's next? Let's hit this side.
Hi, I just want to make sure that everyone here at this meeting today knows that it's the sentiments of the neighborhood, people on the streets, people who are in Washington Park, to keep the deep water pool and the basketball court. And you might say, how do you know that? I know that because in my hand, I have the signatures of 400 people who either live or work in Over the Rhine, and they have all signed an agreement that they want a deep water pool and basketball court in our park. On gathering signatures and more support because we believe that this pool and basketball court needs to be in this park in the future for families and kids in Over the Rhine.
What makes you think that the community is not going to step up and support this pool? I mean, and also, are you going to let the Miami talk about their design? They're here to talk about their design. Even though you put their little picture up there, you know, they haven't had a chance to explain what is going in that little spot. And I don't see why you say the community won't step up and support the pool. You know, I didn't say you did. But what that the community won't step up and support the pool. Even the new people that's coming in. Condos are coming in. We're losing our families. We're losing our schools. I mean, this makes a big difference. The kids are here talking the same thing. They want to keep the pool.
Three things, a comment and two questions. First is, we don't need no stinking dog park. You want a dog park? There's plenty of other places to put a dog. The second thing is, do you know the total of the entire pool budget for all of Cincinnati combined? Do you have any idea what it might be? Is there anyone here, Jim, who might know the entire
total budget is about 1.1
million?
Yes.
You hear that? 1.1 million for the entire budget for the entire pools of all of Cincinnati. 1.1 million. Now, how much? Excuse me. How much is it to run one pool? Approximately for the summer. There's about 40 pools divided by 1.1 million.
40 pools, but part of that money goes for year-round training. So it's not a clean 1.1, it runs 40 pools. The pool season, of course, is very short, it's about 8 weeks. And it's important to recognize with those limited dollars that we're really offering 4 to 5 hours of open swing. It's not like our free open nights. We're stretching the dollars to the 40 pools.
You're talking about a tiny, infinitesimally small amount of money, considering that we have at least $1 billion a year budget for the city of Cincinnati. They say, oh, we don't have the money. We don't have money for so many pools, you said a minute ago. But we have plenty of money for a streetcar. How many streetcars can we afford? How many parking garages can we afford? How much moving around of the furniture on Fountain Square can we afford? What are we doing here? Are we trying to eliminate a certain type of person from the park? And what are we doing here? Who are the decision makers for this issue? Are you the decision maker? Are you the decision maker? Or are these people the decision makers? In my opinion, it is these people who are rightfully the decision makers for what happens in the park. And we're not begging, we're telling.
First of all, I want to say I think it's wonderful that we're exerting this amount of energy and passion towards such a central place, not only for the neighborhood, but for the city of Cincinnati. I think there's some terrific things in the plan. I think it is very short-sighted not to have a pool. And I'll tell you what. One of the challenges of this neighborhood is how we deal with youngsters, especially as they start to get older than 8 years old, who have a lot of energy, and they have no place to put it in many cases other than in shaded friends. Let me speak as the father of 2 long-term competitive swimmers. As my wife and I always said, the great thing about competitive swimming is it keeps the kids clean. It keeps them tired. Having been a high school athlete myself, I would say I had no energy by the time I got home from practice to go out and get into trouble. If anything, we need to have more of this type of activity. The other added dimension is the understanding of the importance of teamwork. So the pool becomes a metaphor for all kinds of things. We cannot do away with these pools.
I am one who has slept at Washington Park. I'm one who currently owns. But what my man said here, I don't want to excuse my language about starts out on everybody will take offense. The problem is, for our future to turn over into a brighter future, being in Over the Line, being in Washington Park, and taking away everything. These people at one point in time came down here to the community to see family members, to go see grandma, grandpa, get back to the essence. And then redevelopment came on. Then fines standing on the corner, and then the Hamilton County Police Sheriff moving people off the streets. And like the man said, if there ain't got no, if people have energy to do things, but what can they do? It's limited. They don't have too much to do. Y'all taking away the park? It's park. That's where a lot of people, no other place, there's a lot of people in the drop-in center. That's where they meet. That's their meeting ground, where they have no meeting ground. So by y'all taking the pool away, taking the basketball courts away, it's already no baseball fields around for the kids to play. They need somewhere to go, somewhere to feel a part of something. And if y'all take that away, man, it's like chaos will happen tomorrow. Chaos will happen tomorrow.
Well, I remind you that the park is actually getting bigger, the playground is getting bigger, we're going to have a green that's bigger than the football.
It's for the look and not the people.
It's for the real do it for everybody.
Real quick, the reason why I asked my question is the summit was here, the Xavier University students were here, they had models, they had maps, they had pictures. The city manager was there. I heard no mention of this plan. This is why I asked the question, was this part of the overall comprehensive plan? I don't know, I don't see the city officials here with you.
Neighborhood summit?
Yes.
Okay, everyone was aware that this plan, the city has been aware that we were doing a planning effort.
That Miami is doing a planning effort and
that the city of Cincinnati, with funding from 3CDC, is doing a new plan for Washington Park. To take advantage of the opportunity presented that the Washington Park School is going away. So we started last December, January with this planning process.
So Miami is working with Xavier.
I'm not really sure what you're referring to.
Well, at the summit, when the city manager spoke,
The neighborhood summit, I think you're talking about the neighborhood summit.
Right, the overall, right.
Yeah, that's right, what she was talking about. I'm just not sure what you meant about Miami students.
It was never mentioned that Miami was working with Xavier, working overall. That there were collaborative.
I'm not aware of that particular.
That's why I'm asking the question.
I'm Pat Clifford, and I was on the steering committee, and I was frustrated that we have not met since July. I was frustrated in August, September when the decision to support the turning of the park area to the temporary parking lot happened without the steering committee being aware of it, without us having a chance to discuss it. I was very frustrated when posters went up for this very meeting without the steering committee even knowing about it. How embarrassing to be part of the steering committee. You don't even know that the meeting's happening. And I'll tell you, I was most frustrated by hearing what I found out in the last few days from the Cincinnati Recreation Commission, that they passed a plan last month that's going to turn the pool, deepwater pool into a fountain, turn the Ziegler open-air pool into a spray ground, with no plans for renovating the Haap Recreation Center. That is disgusting. We need to all band together as a community here. We can get upset at you, but we need to go to the Recreation Commission next and raise hell with them. That's unacceptable.
Priorities, and that the pool and the basketball court was, what, less than 10% in terms of priority. I would dare say, if you counted the hands here, there's far more than 10% that it's a high priority. So in addition, so again, when you look at priorities, I'm appalled that you're taking out the pool and the basketball court. But when I look at the land you're giving to the dogs and the land you're giving to children, then the only thing I can determined by this, or the inferences I draw by this data that you presented tonight, is that your clients, the Parks Board and 3CDC, think dogs are more important than the children of Oklahoma.
Well, the playground is facts. The playground in this design is more than 3 times larger than the existing playground. Just in terms of measurement.
I'm looking at dogs and children.
And the one, the size of football fields for children, for adults, for families, so I'd have to disagree with them.
Well, I also raised teenagers, and they stopped playing in spray grounds and on playground structures by the time they were 10.
We've heard otherwise.
Thank you for thinking of to what you were doing. As long as I can remember, there has been a pool there. And I'm quite sure if you move into a neighborhood and they go for a redesign and want to take your pool away, I don't think you would go for that, number one. Nowhere for the children to go if you do take that away. As the gentleman said, swimming, is a big thing now. Children need somewhere to go. You should think of it. What can they do in the place, in this park? What can they actually do? Fall, get hurt most of the time. At least in the water, they are a little bit safer. They can learn to swim.
Before I take additional questions, that, as you pointed out, the sentiment in this particular meeting is very strongly in favor of keeping the pool. And we've heard that loud and clear.
And the basketball court, yeah.
We've heard that loud and clear. We also have the opportunity for everyone to fill out forms, express that on that piece of paper and hand it about it. So, with due respect to that, that message has been strongly communicated, and we appreciate your passion about it. So, I guess what I want to ask, are there other aspects of the plan, good, bad, or otherwise,
Yeah, I want to see the alternative plan.
that we need to hear about?
It just seemed like when you were talking about the next steps that there's just going to be a master plan and a budget made, and that's never going to be presented back to the community in another public forum. And I just wondered if it seems like there's a lot of changes that might happen or a lot of things to take into account at this point. Is there going to be another opportunity for this and the final design to be presented to the community once again?
Our current plans are, when the plan is done, and I don't know if it's here, there's an issue about who's making the decision. The final plan is going to come together. That will be reviewed by and acted on by the park board in a public meeting. So that will be one opportunity for people have to see the final plan and come back to it. Also, once there is a final plan, we'll make it available for people to look at. But I do want, we can come back and talk about the rules some more. I would like to get to Chris's question. There's a lot of stuff here from seating, to changing the bandstand, to changing the comfort station, changing the entrances to the park. We are really curious if there are any other comments have. Any other comments people have about some of these other items?
So just as people start to filter out, please be sure to hand in your form, or if you didn't get a form, please let us know so that we can make sure one is sent. Okay?
Yeah, but it needs to go back to like the pool issue kind of thing, but like your defense to not having the pool was that you do have a playground, but that's like 8 years old and under. The main issue is the teenagers. It's not the playground and the dogs and the sprinkler like fountain area. That's for like little kids. That's, I mean, yes, you say that more people can use it, but the actuality that teenagers are going to go and like run through the sprinkler and go to, yeah, like adult people.
I work for Washington Forest, and I set up sprinklers all summer long as I go in, I'm a work multi-person. They beg me to set up sprinklers. I set up 2 sprinklers in the summer when it's hot, because adults, teenagers, everybody runs in.
Do they leave the pool to run through the sprinklers?
Actually, I have never seen more than 12 people in the pool at any given time. The manager,
I love you. I mean, honestly, you want my numbers?
and I've never, ever, ever seen anybody actually using a basketball court.
I know they do. Oh, my God. They took them right down. They took them right down every day.
Play. So all I'm saying is I work there, that's what I see when I'm working there, is that people of all ages, young, teenagers, adults, run through the swings.
Guys, listen, let's be respectful of everyone that has to speak. I think everybody has tried to hear every comment. Every opinion is valuable. Everybody deserves the right to speak uninterrupted. So let's just use that level of mutual respect and hear everybody's comments, okay? In response, you're the one who has the floor. Certainly the issue's been raised, the community council raised it with us, that there need to be activities, there need to be things for young people to do. We've heard that, we're hearing that, we're considering how to respond. That response is here and/or at other sites in the city. One of the things we certainly intend to do is have lots of events and programs to figure out a way to fund them. Bring more people. We've also looked at recreation security statistics on usage, so they know where there's been attendance at pools, where it's high and where it's low. Because a lot of people have different opinions about what they've seen at Biggie Works in Park, and you've been there a lot. And you all have your visions, your personal experiences in the park. They're all valid, finding their
Yeah, just be one question. Is there a representative from Miami University right there that will be a spokesperson?
Yeah, there's a lot of people here.
Well, I think it might be worthwhile because we were introduced to the plan and the concept and stopped outside when we were coming in. I've had the pleasure of working with Steve, with Human Nature, with Chris, and I know that the intent is not to be so over serial that they forget the essence of what they're trying to accomplish, which is cohesive, coherent, and certainly a space that is intended to be invitational for the residents of the community. So I know that it is not intended to be an oversight, but what I would like to hear, and I think there are others here respectfully, that is, the plan was panelized for us by getting a pass stop when we came in and also a little vignette. Maybe a spokesperson from there could be a representative to say what strengths within the design that Human Nature created that we should embrace, and maybe what strengths within the Miami University plan, other than the pool, because the pool is obvious in the basketball court, but the sound garden, for example, or the paths, or the other sort of elements that create connectivity within that park and create a sense of place. So if there is somebody from Miami University, I think it would make sense for them to have an opportunity as well.
Michelle, Brittany, Simon, Louise. That's your cue.
The plan created, I think, had a lot of really strong aspects to it. Has a lot of strong aspects to it.
People quiet down.
We first want to emphasize the fact that Human Nature's plan does have a lot of very strong aspects to it. And when we look at it, we definitely want to keep. I mean, their plan is gosh, 90% generic. Obviously, lack a few amenities such as a pool and basketball court. But we also, in adding those, took a little bit of liberty in changing some of the upper part, the northern part of the park around. First of all, we thought that the large open green space was incredibly important. It was a nice focal point for Music Hall, but also the community. What we did is we altered it around and changed the axis of it a little bit. In doing so, we kept it. We also created or suggested a water wall, which would be like a large step wall with fountains at the top that would pour down. This would create a nice backdrop if you're looking from the steps of Music Hall down towards the park, but it also create a boundary between the pool and recreation area in a large open space.
Yeah, and then the area where we put the pool, and like Chris said earlier, it's not really about design, it's about accepting the fact that we can build a pool and actually put it in here. But if it was incorporated into the design, a great place for it would be this north
east corner here that obviously engages both sides of the residential area of the community, where people could come in through that corner into this recreation node that would have a pool and a basketball court. And then we also incorporated the idea of a sound garden that would basically be taking the idea of a playground but actually making it that it's even more interactive and that teenagers wouldn't be bored with like a swing set or something like that. That there would be these things out of recycled materials that would be life-size and you can make music. And it would be an idea of bringing music hall and the community together, and that this isn't about separation. This isn't about like, you know, high-standing culture versus the community. It's about bringing it together, and that this redesign of the park can be about that. So these are some of the things we try to do, and it all goes along with the original plan, just adding to it and kind of shifting things around. That it can be flexible and there can be change that can be made to incorporate.
When we did this, we took into consideration what makes Washington Park such a strong element of the community. This includes the buildings around it, the neighborhoods around it, where the people are located, where people live versus where people visit. New features coming in, of course, the parking garage, music hall squares, it's been, I guess, proposed to be called, and then also the SCPA at this end.
Just when we were working on this plan, we really wanted to think about that age group, 10 to 15-year-olds, what are they going to do? It seems to me personally that the plan that we had presented to us here earlier didn't think about them at all. There was Brittany over here saying that the spray ground, the playground, that's for 8 and under. So you know, what are these adolescents going to do? So we just wanted to create a thing that would, you know, show that there's a feasible way to include everyone in this plan.
As we see it, a park isn't to be looked at, it's to be used and engaged. We try to also focus down to the primary people that would be making use of this space, and that includes from our visions, among others, but the main groups were the residents that currently reside here and the children. Also, the newer demographic, the newer residents are moving into some of the newer condos being built. And then finally, visitors that are taking part in the activities and the presentations and musical cultural events and music hall and memorial hall.
Just because of its location and everything around it and the diversity there, it has the potential to be a landmark place. And with what I see them doing with this plan right here, not ours, the other plan, I feel like it's just going to be a green space in the middle of our city, whereas this could be a destination and a place where all different people can come and gather and celebrate diversity and friendship. Yeah, it's everybody's park.
It seems to me that it's really a question of the decision-making process and what kind of transparency there's going to be in that. We've seen in other situations, particularly Fountain Square comes to mind, where there was sort of public input sessions just as a formality, but we didn't really see, the public really didn't support those ideas. The Business Courier said it fell with a thud. So, we saw it brought straight to council, which pushed it through. And so I think that what we need is to make sure that we're doing what the people who actually live here in the community wants, not what 3CDC or other people want. And so I think it seems pretty clear here tonight, and from the signatures, from the crowd here, that there's definitely some strong support for the pool and the basketball court. And so my question is how do we know how much support there was, or who filled this out, or the process, and how are we to feel comfortable in knowing that it really is that your plan has the support that you say it does?
Well, as I said, we're getting some very valuable feedback, and something we don't usually get is drawings, so it's not just comments. Pictures are worth thousands of words. So we're taking that all into account. And we knew from the beginning that probably we're not going to be able to come up with a plan that everyone was happy with. But we'd like to think at the end of the day that we've heard what people wanted in the park, and that we've come up with a plan that serves the community well, that serves the residents who are here. I think we all really want the same thing. And one of the early visions, objectives was to create a landmark park and a destination, as well as a neighborhood park. So that's what we're working toward.
The
final plan will, again, go to the park board. It's going to be their decision that this is something to work toward. I have to say that the steering committee, the other public meetings, all the groups we've talked to, there's been general support for most everything in the plan, with the big exceptions being the two things we're spending most time talking about. Part of that equation, frankly, certainly is the Recreation Commission, and where they are planning to go in the future, what resources they have, because whether it's $1 million or $2 million or less, when they're looking at over the Rhine resources, they're also looking at how to serve the rest of the city and all the other neighborhoods. So it's a bit of a complicated answer, but there are a number of factors and a number of decisions. We're hearing you. You will report on the findings. I think the media is probably going to report on this. And we hear from people, whether they're at this meeting or not, whether they're representing the community council or not. The point of the steering committee was to try to represent a broad spectrum of the stakeholders and residents. So we're gathering information from all those sources, as well as from the petition and everything else we're hearing. It's all going to be part of the process. We didn't go out saying we have to get rid of the pool or we're going to serve one segment of the community. That's not what this plan is about.
We should make sure everybody has.
Yeah, so you've got it turned down. Thanks, Rob.
I want to point out, I was at the resident override. I was at the first two meetings. Early in this meeting, it was said that a pool was of a low priority. At the first meeting, you drew up plans to just show blank spaces. And I remember people saying, where's the pool? And you said, well, we're not going to talk about that. We're just talking about the space. We'll talk about amenities at another meeting. And in the second meeting, we talked about amenities. And I remember on the wall, out here, lots of stickies going up that said pool in the tables and in the little stickers outside. So I don't know what happened to those. I don't know why. You have to need to recount them. Well, because it seems either you don't know how to count, or you threw some away.
First of all, it's not the case. Second of all, we're obviously hearing that there's a group that's very passionate about keeping a deep water pool in the park. I understand.
Well, in addition to that, the school has already been done that Western Park School. That has served this community. That was for children of this community. There are condos moving in. People have been kicked out of their homes. I know people have been kicked out. There was no plan made for where they were going to go. No plan whatsoever. They were just gone. So you're going to keep coming in. You're going to redo the park. You're going to take the pool that this community needs. I don't know if you spend much time in these buildings during the summer. It's hot. Where in the heck are the kids going to go? What do you want them to do? You want them just to run through some sprinklers? Why downgrade this community? This community is an oppressed community. I believe, I talk to the people on the street, the powers that be, the 3 CDCs, the Cincinnati Council, all these people, they have a vested interest in getting rid of the people that live here now. And moving in different people. I've heard Captain Jones, the head of District 1, say that while we're redoing the park, we need to throw a chain link fence around it so we get rid of the people that are in it now, and we have new people come in later. So I charge you, you can throw responsibility around. You can throw it from the park board to the council, to the Recreation Commission, and shove all this crap down our throats so we don't know where to go. But it's not going to work. I charge all of you that you, Chris, and you, Steve, and you, Derek, and Adam, wherever you are, and Dr. Norman, somewhere, I think he already left, I don't know, from the Recreation Commission, you all have a hand in this. You have a hand in this. All of us in the room have a hand in this, the neighborhood has a hand in this, and the city at large has a hand in this. And if you take this pool, if you don't rebuild another pool in it, I and this community will blame it on you. You will be the target of hatred in this community. And that will happen. So if you want this whole neighborhood that's right by the downtown to dislike the powers that be more than they already do, then you better hurry up and get that pool out of here. You have turned your back on this community, and we're not willing to take it.
Anymore.
I think it's unfortunate that the conversation has gone personal, and I'd like to see if I could take it in a different direction. The pool issue, is pretty much settled, but I think the neighborhood is missing out on an opportunity to comment on the other aspects of this plan. The pool message is going across loud and clear, but I'd be interested in hearing, some of the opinions about other aspects of the park. How does the Civic Green look? I think it looks good. It has a great relationship with the music hall. It actually has the potential to be a space where all people can gather together